Well, you guys, we finished the Trap and Tone Challenge with LASHAE for the month of October. And I think it was great. It was challenging. It was amazing. We are so happy with the results, and we hope that, other people will join in for the next challenge and just try it out and see how you feel. So there is another challenge happening in November, okay? So go to the site, ifyoucanmove.com. The link is down below in my description box, and sign up for the challenge. And don't forget about TLC NutriBurst, and all of the amazing products that they have at TLC. The link is down below to where you can purchase some of those products. I've even gotten my husband into the NutriBurst. I've gotten my husband into the tea, actually, especially if he isn't feeling that great. Sometimes he might have a little stomach issue. He drinks that tea and he feels great like an hour later. So just saying. Don't listen to me though. All right, but yeah, y'all, just wanted to give y'all an update before we started this video, but yay, we finished. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondy Blue, and I am back for another Ready to Love review, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into it. So this episode, the men get to send 2 women home, okay? The power has shifted. Last week, it was David who went home, and also it was the guitar player who went home. And now they're going to pick 2 women to go home. Tommy asked that all of the men think about the women who they have the most chemistry with and try to choose who will stay and who will go. So, Simone and Jay talk. She snatched him from a conversation with Winter, but I don't think it's really there. See, I haven't seen Simone connect really with anyone, not really. She has a lot of walls up, and I think that a lot of the men are sensitive in the way that once they are turned off by a woman upon impression, it is very hard for them to open themselves back up to that woman. And I feel like I don't know why Simone is still there. I honestly feel like she might go home at the end of this episode. We didn't get to see who they sent home at the end of this episode. We'll probably see it at the beginning of next week's episode, who they decide to send home from the women. But I feel like Simone might be one of those women because I have not seen her make a connection with anybody. Kelfani and Denise spend a lot of time together playing in the pool when Adriana comes in and takes him away from her, and they go and snuggle on a sofa and talk, and she tells him that she has claimed him as one of her top men, so she wants to know how he feels about her. Meanwhile, Denise is pissed off. Denise is feeling some type of way. She doesn't understand why Kelfani is even entertaining anybody else, specifically Adriana. I think that something about Adriana rubs her wrong. Maybe it's her age, maybe it's her bubbliness, her difference in temperament. She's not as jaded. I'm sure there are a whole bunch of reasons why Denise seems to be throwing so much shade in Adriana's direction. But this is not going to make the situation any better, sis. I mean, but this is what you came here for. So I feel like when the women start to get, possessive, it's not a good thing. I think it's too early, and I think even though I understand how they feel, they don't need to show that to anybody yet. Chill out. That's why Joy and Alex are such a hit, because they've been able to go on dates and retain their temperaments about who they are and what they are there to do and what this process is. They are able to be who they are in the space, and the men gravitate to them. They don't necessarily have to be worrying about what the man is doing with one of the other ladies, because the men will eventually find their way back to them. I mean, that's just the way it seems to have worked out for the 2 of them specifically. And there are other women, but specifically the 2 that I can think of that have most of the men's attention, I have to say, is Alex and Joy. So y'all, Alicia is, mouth, ass, titties, like just giving you so much. I also think she has a sexy yet thirsty vibe about her. Not to say that she actually is thirsty in the way she acts, but there are certain energies about a person that I think can sometimes be like a red flag for certain men. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know why, but Alicia is coming up as somewhat of a red flag for a lot of the men. I don't know why that is, But she likes Brian, and Brian doesn't really return her affections in the same way. He's not rude enough to rebuff her, but at the same time, he's not feeling her as much as he's feeling Alex, but he does give her his time. I felt like she laid it on too thick. She told him that he was her favorite and he was her top in front of other men, shutting off the possibility for relationships with them. You know, like I just felt like she was doing too much too soon, like a lot of the women. So then they play volleyball in the pool. Denise is doing too much, of course. She and Kelfani go talk, and Adriana tells Rashid and some other folks, Simone and the cop, I forgot his name right now. It's probably in my notes somewhere. But she basically is being messy and tells this group of people, including Rashid, that Denise said that he was a narcissist and that she wasn't really giving real reasons for why he was a narcissist. She was just saying it. And then she throws, well, you know, she did say it was because, you know, you were light skinned. And I'm like, I don't necessarily think it's about the fact that he is light skinned. I think he fits a physical mold and probably has a lot of mannerisms of someone who has been narcissistic towards her, and she just attributes the physicality and not necessarily knowledge of the person to him being narcissistic. And yes, that's a lot to put on somebody. She is doing a bit much. But the way Adriana went and told everybody that, it just kind of seemed like it was her passive aggressive, well, you know, oh my God, way of kind of getting Denise to be put in the hot seat. Rashid takes great offense to her saying, Denise saying, that he's a narcissist based off of his skin tone. And of course, this whole conversation about skin tone and colorism. And this actually annoyed me a little bit because I was like, listen, I am one of those people who definitely feel as if colorism goes both ways in certain instances, specifically within the Black community, not necessarily in our relation to white people. I feel like for white people, the closer you are to light, the better. And that's just the way it seems to be all around the world. But specifically within the confines of the Black community, we will treat each other like shit for any number of reasons, including being light or being dark and having preconceived notions and all kind of stuff about people. We will do that to one another. But I don't feel like it was Adriana's place to bring that up the way she did, specifically because it wasn't necessarily about the colorism from Denise's perspective. And when she put that out there, he just took that and ran with it and then tried to make it seem like it's equal to anything she's probably went through as a dark complected woman. And I just kind of felt like y'all doing too much right now. You know, I felt like Rashid was doing too much. Calm the hell down. You haven't even had a conversation with this woman and you already on 10 because of, you know, what Big Head over here done told you. Like, just calm down. I felt like everybody was doing too much. Jay and Winter go on a date. They connect, but people view Jay as Joy's man for some reason. Listen, Jay is beautiful. He is a beautiful little dark chocolate almondy, beautiful teethed, okay? Like, he's nice. And Joy is beautiful. And honestly, I feel like they would make a beautiful couple. But I also feel like they are both very, you know, sociable people right now. And I think it's too soon to say that, but I guess. I just think that all of the women should be putting their best foot forward and not worrying about how the men are faring with other women. Like, worry about you and your connection and play the shit by ear. This is a situation you've put yourself in when you know that the men are seeing, talking to, and spending time with other people. So stop making it seem like it's some cheatation. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody has solidified any relationships around here with the exception of Chris and Naya. Denise and Kelfani, another one where I feel like putting way too much on it too soon. They are enjoying each other's company, and Kelfani admits that he has the most chemistry with Denise. But, you know, he's still been moving around a bit much. He's still a lot of the girls' favorite, including Adriana. And Denise is feeling some type of way about that. And she steps to him about it. And I'm like, I don't know what you expect him to say. That is what this show is. What do you expect him to say to you? You know what I mean? Like, just feel like you're setting yourself up to be played. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But I will say Kelfani said something that made me feel some type of way. He said that she should be comfortable enough to know if he does go out with another lady, he will be right back. That sounded like rationalization for cheating in a relationship. I know we're talking about the show, but when he said that, the way he said it made me feel like it is something he also applies to his relationships and not just to this show. Ryan and Alex go on a date paddleboarding, and he's feeling her a lot. They talk about his daughter and how, he hasn't really been there the way he wants to be. And the next time he has a child, he really wants to be, more hands-on because he feels like he's missing a lot. And she talks about her issues with vulnerability and not being 100% vulnerable with people because she has to have her guard up, which is understandable. But I also feel like you should have a guard up at this point. And it is not just about, coming off like a tough girl. It's also about being smart enough to protect your feelings in situations where if you were to be stupid about it, you could end up getting your feelings hurt like a lot of these other girls are. So I honestly enjoy the way Alex handles herself. Edwin and Joy go on a date. Okay, Edwin is the one whose name I couldn't remember. I think he was the cop. They talk, and he talks about his PTSD from being in the military, and he has used cooking as a way to deal with his issues, as a way of therapy. And, of course, women want to be sure that you're mentally stable and that will not bleed through in your relationship. But ultimately, it's still me. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not seeing a therapist every week, I would probably be worried about his mental health as well. When they were at the pool, Edwin was actually talking about being a cop because I believe they were talking about George Floyd or Black Lives Matter or something along those lines. And he talks about his experience as a cop. And yes, the conversation got serious, but as Black people, our conversations get serious sometimes. Sometimes we have these conversations specifically when things have happened recently. So I thought it was just really cold and rude the way Shay ejected herself from the conversation. Ooh, that conversation getting a little bit too deep over there. Let me come over here. He's doing too much talking. He was just talking and talking and talking. It's not like he's talking about nonsense. He's having a real conversation, and you're being vapid and disrespectful. And in all honesty, you come off like somebody they put on the show to spy, not to really find a relationship, not really to find love, but to be messy and to make sure that the reality show is entertaining. So then she begins to swoon over Kelfani, and I was just kind of like, oh God, now she's being thirsty. Edwin said that spoke volumes about Shay, and I agree. Adriana was like, yeah, it seems as if, some people, all they want to talk about is who they like. And, the conversation has to be more than that if you're actually trying to get to know one another. At the pool, Winter is feeling away about Jay when Joy is around. Like his energy isn't the same. So they go to her room to talk in private, and Simone is in her room next to theirs and hears them and comes outside of her room to ear hustle on what's going on in their room. She says he was caught like a kid with his hand in a cookie jar. I'm like, how was he caught? He doesn't belong to you. How was he caught? Like that shit is just sad to me that y'all put yourselves in this situation and nobody really knows how to handle themselves. Adriana wants to talk to Denise. Denise says that her feelings about Rashid have nothing to do with Adriana. Then Denise brings up Adriana talking to Kelfani because it's like, well, if Rashid is your man, why are you running behind mine? Okay? Adriana says that Denise is asking for respect that she's not giving. Okay? And Denise says that, listen, I have dated a narcissist and I ended up being missing for 4 days. I was like, wait a minute, what? So apparently she was with some man who kidnapped her for 4 days, and somehow that has something to do with Rashid. Sis, you need to go to therapy real deep and deal with your issues and stop putting them on other people that have absolutely nothing to do with that. And I'm sad that that happened to you. Adriana going to speak on Rashid's behalf was just a little too much to me, honestly. I felt like that was some young girl shit and that she didn't have to do that. And now Rashid views her as his ride or die. And I'm like, well, what does that translate to? Does that mean that he's going to be able to misuse you? Because, I mean, honestly, Denise might turn out to be absolutely right about who he is. But everybody's going to act like she's crazy because there's no real evidence. But I do feel like sometimes we pick up on certain energies in people. But when he said to Adriana, oh, you my ride or die, yeah, something about that shit kind of rubbed me wrong. Like, oh, he going to have you in a cut riding and then dying when he play the hell out of you when he feel like it. And then he going to come back to be with you and make you feel good. And then he going to play you again. You know, like men do, they ride or die sometimes. Alicia and Brian talk and have like a little date. She says that she's a single mother and she's lonely, you know. It's all about her kids and not a lot of time for her and for love and romance and all of these things. He asks how her kids feel about a man coming into her life, and she says that her oldest wants a stepfather, you know, wants a male figure in his life, and child, so does she. After they finish having their conversation, he walks her to her room and he leaves. He says that he will come back, but he actually goes to see Alex and end up going to her room and kissing her and talking to her. And Shay, nosy ass, sees that he's standing in Alex's doorway, and then she goes and gets Alicia and drags Alicia to see him standing there with Alex. I was just kind of like, y'all have got to stop with making unnecessary issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, Shay, you were obviously there to be a bone-carrying ass bitch, okay? You are not there for love because this was so messy. How did you even know that? Like, I guess everybody's paying attention to what other people are doing, but I was just kind of like, why would you do that? You know, especially since Alicia was feeling good about their date. I just feel like she could have been feeling good about their date until she realized that that man was more into Alex. And I feel like eventually she would have seen it. It didn't have to be like this because I don't feel like he did anything wrong. I don't. Alicia feels like he's a liar now, and I just don't understand why. He is not your man. I guess he said he was going to come back to her room, and that was messed up, and I understand why she feels the way she does, but I also think she wasn't reading all the signs ahead of time either, and it was going to show itself to her one way or another, and her feelings were still going to be hurt. Jay and Joy talk, and Simone joins them. They all hugged up on the sofa, and she plops her ass down so that she could ask Jay why he was in Winter's room with no shirt on. I'm like, well, they had just come from the pool, bitch. That's why he didn't have a shirt on. Like, I just felt like she was trying to be messy. And Jay was like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? Like, she doing a bit much. That was a turn off, another turn off, you know. Joy almost wanted to excuse herself, but, you know, Jay was like, nah, it ain't even about all of that. You know what I'm saying? Jay says that he's not sleeping with anybody, and, you know, they kind of just laughed the situation off. But I was like, yeah, they're going to end up sending Simone's ass home because she's just doing way too much right now. You know what I'm saying? He's not your man, honey. You know what I'm saying? Just doing way too much. But anyway, y'all, that was Ready to Love. I hope y'all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video.